So I imagine that's safe. But yeah, I know she was. Our help. Ruby, this is Gianna, who's going to be taking over. Hey, nice to meet you. Well done. Oh.
I planned this. Come on. Ready for it? Yeah. Yeah.
Now, go.
Good evening. Good evening. Buenas noches. Buenas noches. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming for this night for the Emerging Writers Festival. Yo Soy Fuego. So Yo Soy is a collective of Latinx people. But before I say everything, I will acknowledge his land. Sorry, my papers. This is an event called from the Emerging Writers Festival, and I'm gonna do the acknowledgement in Castellano, in Spanish. Yo soy fuego, se leva a cabo en las tierras de los Giron-Rivas pueblos de la nación Chicle. Reconozco que los propietarios tradicionales de las tierras en las que los reunimos hoy. Presento mis respetos a sus ancianos pasados, presentes y emergentes. También me gustaría recordar que esta tierra nunca ha sido cedido y que nunca se ha hecho ningún tratado con los pueblos primeros. Muchas gracias. In English is, so Yo Soy Fuego is being held in the lands of the Giron-Rivas peoples of the Kulon Nation, and I acknowledge the traditional owners of this land in which we are meeting today. I pay my respect to the elders past, present, and emerging. I also would like to remind that sovereignty has never been ceded in this land, and no treaties have ever been made with the first peoples of this country. So that's very important to say. You know, being from South America and being descendant of enslaved peoples that were taken there without, any choice, and indigenous peoples from my mom's side who were there, for 35,000 years or more. It's only fair to pay my respects to the people here as well. I would like to introduce, in this note, I would like to introduce the brains behind Yo Soy Collective.
You don't.
Yes, coming to the stage, Jessica Ibacache and Ruby.
Hello, my name is Jessica Ibacache. I'm one of the co-founders of Yo Soy Collective along with Ruby Pivet. Thank you so much for being here. It really means a lot. This is our first event ever, and you're going to be seeing some amazing Latinx artists tonight who will embody the spirit of what it means to have fire, have fuego. So we're a very emerging collective. We only started late last year, and we aim to platform Latinx artists who live in Melbourne, are based in Melbourne. So this event wouldn't have been possible without our amazing team. So Ruby, the other artists in the collective, and most importantly, the EWF team, especially Aisha. Not sure where she is, over there. So we've never done an event before, and we took this idea to EWF, and they were really supportive. And I think when you're first starting out, the people that really believe in you are really important. So thank you so much for seeing something in us that no one else did. We're really grateful to be here and to be in partnership with EWF. Thank you.
So it's kind of tradition by now that I cry on this stage. That's what happened last time I was here, and I didn't know Jess was going to say all that, and I'm very emotional now. So I'm going to look at this piece of paper and read it. It starts with hello, friends and foes, and I'm not sure why I keep saying that because, I mean, maybe I'm just always ready for a fight. I don't know. Hopefully you are all friends, though. In any case, I'm glad that it's been a bit warmer today than it has been lately because, like, sure, Cardi B said, I hope it never gets cold, but I was kind of worried about how a group of, like, Latinx cuties were going to be, like, thriving in the middle of winter in Melbourne, but we're here. So, yeah, thanks for coming. I was really convinced no one was going to come, just like I was convinced no one was going to submit to the zine, and now we have this thing that's nearly 40 pages long. So I just had like a few things that I have to say, and then you can all go home. No, then we can get on with the night. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone who submitted to the first issue of the zine. I'm an over planner, so I do have things in store for the next one. So if you have ideas, I will be bothering you about that very soon. Secondly, I want to thank people who are in the zine, who shared their time and trusted me to edit or not edit their work. So that's Amy, who is in Sydney, Anna Maria, Jerry, Jace, who is in Queensland, Jessica and Policera. Obviously, we wouldn't have a zine to be selling if you weren't in it. I wanted to do a extra big thank you to Anna Maria and Jess, who have been my admin and design angels respectively. Yeah, they did a lot of work when I was very not sure that a zine was even going to happen. And I know it sounds like I'm thanking people for like a movie or a book, but I've never done a zine like this before. Like I usually just go to the library and do it on a photocopier, and I've never done one with other people's work. And there was something kind of like intimidating about that. When it's just my own work, I don't really care that much. But it's a community effort, and it's a space that I feel like hasn't really existed for us before. So there was a bit of pressure in that, I think, just even coming from myself. I'm almost done. I started on Chicle like a year ago, technically, and then I chickened out and got busy with other things. So I wanted to just say thank EWF for giving us this space and this letting us program this event, because it meant I had a deadline to actually do and finish the thing. And a huge thank you again to Aisha for reaching out to us to co-produce this event, and also for listening to me ramble like you are all now. And then we do also really need to say a big thank you to City of Melbourne for supporting this project and for having the most straightforward grant application process ever, because that means I've been able to pay the wonderful artists that you will read. So we're selling zines tonight. It is cash only. It's so if you'd like one, and I really hope you do, you can come and see us at the door. There's two prices. There's $10. That's the standard price. But you can also purchase a copy for $15 in solidarity with the collective to help us produce more issues and events. And by that, I mean, if you're one of our white friends, you have to pay more. I think that's enough. Okay, enjoy.
Okay. You did well. Thank you. I didn't before. I forgot the names of the people. I came on a train rehearsing the whole time. Ibacache, Ibacache, Ibacache. Sorry. Okay, so now we're gonna have, I was born in the city of Salvador. Salvador is in the northeast of Brazil, and it's the blackest city in the whole of Brazil. Like 70% of the people are black. So when I moved to Australia, I met people, and I said, I was born in Salvador, and it's like, El Salvador. No, Salvador. Anyway, I'm not from El Salvador, but Vanessa Giron is. And she's gonna read a poem for us, a story. Not Giron. Giron.
Thank you.
Giron. Vanessa Giron. And so she's born in Australia, but her parents are from El Salvador. So come to the stage, Vanessa. Giron.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My piece is going to be very short because I have a bit of stage fright and I didn't know how long I was supposed to be up here for. So my piece is called Cuando la tierra se rompe. The last time I felt happy was 5 months ago when my mama gave me her last mango verde. It felt so small and solid in my hands, and I realized how much it resembled a heart. So I cut it piece by piece, pouring sal y chile, and ate it until it burned where I'd been biting my tongue. When the heat spread down my throat, I felt the earth breaking too, asking myself, finally, do you like being with him? I like to lay on my bed playing video games where the illusion of control is handed to me. I water my garden and say hello to the townspeople and fall in love effortlessly. I play all night in my childhood bedroom and then arrive at my office a few hours later, exhausted, and call it the grind. I go to my office pretending I was working all night because I was. I go home and pretend I've been working all day because I was, and then dance in the pity parties everyone has for me. It's been easy planning for a future I've decided you won't be in, but being alone can turn into loneliness, and it's harder to plan for this. There is a correlation between my fear decreasing and my IKEA cart increasing. Things to put into a home just for me. My mom soothes me most nights by braiding my hair and repeating, sana, sana, culita de rana. And I feel like no one will calm me like this hypothetical frog, and she does. And then the thought of one day not having her with me scares me and stresses me out all over again. When Atlas was punished to carry the world, did he realize how much the weight of it would be emotional baggage? Sometimes I feel like I can't bear to carry it alone, and then I feel guilty remembering that I don't. I read somewhere that frogs can jump 20 times the length of their body, and wonder if it counts when I jump to conclusions about things that won't ever be a thing. I mourn for hypotheticals that never happened, like having to travel the world alone to eat empanadas. My voice reminds me that gluten-free vegans can't eat empanadas anyway. And in a lot of ways, I've been living this life alone for years. More bodies in a room is not a marker of togetherness. A house you're in together does not make it a home. When does a heart stop being a heart? Is it when you stop caring how it feels, even while it's still beating? Is this how you get back at the cuando yo me muero speech? Perdóname, mamá, but I've been cursed to die more than once in this life, so you'll have to do better than that.
I spent my life searching for the adrenaline rush that comes with feeling unconditionally. But the rush is not a high, but a grounding, an anchor to the earth, even cuando la tierra se rompe. Thank you.
Wow. So I forgot to mention that Vanessa is a freelancer writer and editor. She works at the Big Shoe. She also has had featured articles in Managing Junkie, Curio Darlings, and many more magazines. Well, okay, now, 10 years ago, I went to his country of birth, their culture of birth, and I traveled. I remember going to Mexico City, and I was having this heart attack, and I was like, "What's happening? I'm dying. I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to stop smoking. What's going on?" And then I went to the doctor, and he said, it's just altitude sickness. Just drink more, go party, and everything will be fine. So another doctor advised Asiel Sanchez. Asiel's Adan Sanchez is an organic, gluten-free, vegan, single-origin, ethnically sourced, gender-fluid. They may be found in late-night hospital shifts, writing lines of poetry and in between melancholic insulin orders. Born and raised in Mexico, their work is an attempt to reconcile culture, race, gender, and sexuality. They spend their free time kissing boys and cry in public. With you, the doctor, Asiel Sanchez.
Thank you. You laugh, but that's true. There we go. Oh yeah, that's good enough. All right, cool. All righty. Hi everyone. I'd like to thank the Yo Soy Collective and Emerging Writers Festival for having me here. I'd also like to thank and acknowledge how culturally sensitive they were by telling Latinx folks this event was at like 4:30, so we showed up like 7:30. This first piece has a little backdrop to it. One time I showed up at home wearing a very similar outfit to this, and my mom kind of gave me this look, and I was like, oh no, time to crack out the poetry. And then she took out a bunch of lipsticks and said, let's choose out your best shade. And I was like, oh. So this is a piece called Self-Portrait with my mother's lipstick. Amigo. A mother's love sublimates violence the way winter gives birth to spring. Don't you know? Your body is not a war. Here, carve your cheeks with achiote and mole rojo. Repaint the history of our country from its silence as if it never belonged to the rage of violent men. Imagine a face with no borders, smooth like a field with no names in it. But mijo, a brush can be as violent as a knife, so treat it with care. Your eyes should carry truth in them, powerful enough to disarm, yet soft enough to forgive. Ay, mijo, you will soon learn the pain of walking in heels is the pain of learning to stand tall. That a broken lip deserves to be dressed in red, as though it's never kissed the pavement. Some days, this dress will feel so bone close and heavy, will mistake its stitches for skin. Mijo, when you were little, you used to laugh so loud you almost cried each time. But even in your silence, I could hear you singing. And when they ask you what you are, you remember you were made from women who have been painting flowers on the faces of skulls for years. Thank you. This second bit is about being slutty in Mexico City. I have to explain the title a little bit. This poem is called Guadalupapi, and oh yeah, okay. So Guadalupe is like the colonized version of Virgin Mary, and Guadalupapi is play on words meaning like a daddy version of the colonized version of Virgin Mary. So anyway, here we go. 1 a.m. Roma, Mexico City. I spent my last night burying his body into my chest. By now, my ribcage must be an altar. An ofrenda to the young man who offered me salvation for 500 pesos. Patron saint of all the young men who have dissolved like incense into the streets. He likes to tell me that a quickened heartbeat knows no difference between fear and desire. And that's the way we live here, in the sumptuous age between being and longing to be elsewhere. His room reminds me of the last 10 years of absence and the silence it has grown in its place. A candle to La Guadalupana gives out its last light, covering our bodies with marigolds as if they were already gone. He says, we're used to praying to things that burn to the ground and still believe in them. 2 a.m. I'm obsessed with the sheer physicality of him. The topography of his skin, fields of bone and rivers of muscle, how reminds me of our country. We consumed each other urgently, voices stretched into silent mouthfuls. I pull his body close and we feel the same hot blood beating away from our chests, scattering everywhere. Sweat licking the nape of my neck and his prayers at the back of my throat. Bodies heaving with rebellion, stubborn in their presence, refusing to disappear. 3 a.m. We finish with our eyes closed, mouths open to the sky we pray to, but we never see. Bodies limp, fragmented, dripping with warmth. He tells me he always wanted to beat something more than hunger. I tell him, you're enough to be remembered. Thank you. This one is a poem that I do whenever I'm invited to speak at Latinx events because it's fairly self-evident. This is actually before I get into it, as I was going back to Mexico last year, I realized that our dollar bills, or pesos, I should say, have 2 queer women in them. And how awesome is that? Like our 500 peso notes has Frida Kahlo, who was bisexual, disabled, socialist, communist, polyamorous, etc., etc. And our 200 peso note has Sor Juan Inés de la Cruz, which wrote one of the first very lesbian poetry back in the 1500s. And she was one of the first feminists. So, you know, pretty cool. Oh, cool. Backdrop change. All right. This is Self-Portrait with Frida Kahlo. Frida, el llegar aquí fue partir un alma en dos y dejar una sin saber sobre la existencia de la otra. Soledad y el mar, sol sin luna. Frida, before I dreamed of you, I dreamed of white skin and a polished tongue, a self-portrait in pieces, a Tijuana dress underneath all American jeans, too masculine for womanhood, and too unruly to inhabit this body peacefully. Frida, I grew up believing dreams are like rivers, nourishing but always tempting thirst. When my auntie left, my father told me the names of immigrants are written in water, waves yearning to be the shore. Frida, my gender is for my mother and the women baptized with no name in the rivers of Rio Grande. Her back was a bridge so wide, she told me to stand tall and walk along its whole length so I could reach the other side. Frida, lo que el agua me dio es una sed inmensa, una sed de saber más de lo que fluye debajo de tus arroyos y de lo que crece debajo de tus raíces. Frida, I did not grow up to be you, but I did grow up to be me and be in love with who this person is. Femininity and masculinity. This foreign diaspora, this skin does not fit the place that it was given. These hands are not the color of dirt, as I said, but the color of the earth itself, rich black, brown, bronze, and red. Frida, the first time I dreamed of you, I felt the warmth of my birthplace and the bougainvillea trees grow at the root of my feet. A home, a place of belonging in my own brown queer body. Thank you. And this last one is probably one that's probably most aligned with Fuego. As you will recall, on June 12, 2006, the Orlando shooting took place, which was a significant event for queer and Latinx folks in the States and a reflection of a lot of the violence we face, not only in other countries, but sometimes in our countries and our cultures themselves. So a couple of years down the track, I took this piece and reflected on what it meant now. So this is Orlando. America. I used to look up to you, America, as one those in awe of privilege and opportunity, marveling at the dirty bus stop near the edge of Pilsen, Chicago, America, 2 feet deep in snow, thinking I had made it real big, America, small as a virus and heavy as a migrant with no name, America. Yes, I used to look up to you before realizing privilege and opportunity are only for those who already have them, America, in the courtrooms and in the Senate, where democracy is always louder than I am, America, before realizing that you only count our lives by bullet, America, before realizing that you are consumed by a tyrannical hungering for freedom, America, big as the wrath of God, and you would eat us whole. And I wonder if you'll ever own up to it, America, and say, I care more about borders than I care more about people, America. I care more about profits than I care more about prisons, America. I care more about whites than I care more about blacks, America. I care more about papers than I care more about personhood, America. And I wonder if that type of freedom is really ethical, America. And I wonder if you're capable of drawing bombs will the lives of 50 queer people of color really change anything. I first knew my country through shame, in the lunch holes in the classrooms, where you first asked me if my parents were legal American. I first knew my culture through colonization, or bellies full of violence or hunger, which I took as a birthright, America, because you took exploitation and called it a good sale, America. You took oppression and called it a good deal, America. You took our history and wrote it in white pages of black ink always bleeds, America. My friends, my queer Muslim friends, everywhere I look, I'm a drug trafficker and you're a terrorist everywhere I look. This black and brown skin is torn open everywhere I look. We're asked to explain time and time again decades of violence and decades of trauma, time and time again. We're asked to explain, when will we stop killing people? Time and time again, and we seldom get to speak about how much it hurts to see our country or culture or home be torn apart by multiple incomprehensible systems. And it's odd to think that it's odd to think of this as some sort of natural disaster, as unavoidable as a hurricane, as faultless as an earthquake. It's odd to think of this as some lives deserve vigils and some lives deserve just silence. I walked past the memorial today, and I saw flowers and notes and passers-by stopping now and then in silence. And it struck me how these things were meant for someone's son or daughter or best friend or lover, queer, trans people of color, femme boys and trans girls who have provided me with unity and wholesomeness and community which no person ever could. God, I want us to remember we are loved, even though we were shut down. We were shut down while celebrating our lives, celebrating our bodies, celebrating our desires, heritage. God, we don't need marriage. We need safe spaces where our grief can sublimate into resilience. And I wished I wasn't so spiritually confused so I could say a prayer or think they were with God or do something better than crying. And I'm sorry.
Wow. Thank you, Asiel. Very powerful stuff. As you guys are seeing, I would like to thank everyone that came tonight, because it's amazing to come out in this cold, 9 degrees outside and you're all here, so thank you. And now is remember to thank Jessica and Ruby to put up this event, and Aisha and everyone at the Emerging Writers Festival for, running this amazing show, and they haven't stopped for a week now. And there's still a few more days to go. Okay. So now we will have a Chilean writer. She's a poet, she's a DJ. She's published her first book called La Gracia de las Nieves. She has participated in the Emerging Cultural Leaders Program in the Footscray Community Arts Center. And yes, bring to the stage the amazing Grace de las Nieves.
Buenas noches a todos. I'm Grace de las Nieves, and as Guido said, I was born in Chile. And I arrived in Australia 10 years ago. And, well, I'm still very proud of my heritage, my Chilean heritage. I love it. I love being a Chilean. I love being South American. But once that you arrive in here, you start to connect with different people from different places, all the faces that I can see here, like Asia, Europe, Africa, like all this mixture, and you start to become something else, you know, like a big mix of everything that is in here, and like I'm so grateful of that. And one of the things that really kind of bothers me is when someone comes around and say, "Hey, Grace, how long are you been here for?" And I'm like, 10 years. "Oh, your accent is pretty strong." And I'm like, "Shit, man, like, yeah, like I don't want to get rid of this. It's like my heart, you know, is something so beautiful that everyone should be proud of, and not just put it in the rubbish just because you sound different or you sound like a Latinx." And I'm very thankful of Ruby and Jess for putting up this show, this Writers Festival, and like just give a stage to people like us that maybe have not born in here, but we already feel part of this culture and this place. And very, very thank you. And now I will talk a little bit about my piece. Like I just like to do one piece each time that I read, because it really takes a lot of me. Like I'm very emotional, and most of the pieces that I do are coming from the heart. And I don't know, even now, like I'm feeling my hands going numb, and it's quite, I don't know, yeah, very hard. The piece is called "I'm Not Hungry," and it's about all of these things that every day we have to put up with, like little things that just make your head explode and you don't want to deal with it anymore. But like you actually have to do all these things and eat them and digest them to actually you can take something from it, even if it's shit, even if it's hard and you don't want to talk about it, but you have to do it. So my piece has this warning, a content warning that says this: content warning, graphic language, anti-sex worker slurs, reference to sexual abuse, and depression. My piece is going to be in Spanish mainly and a little bit of English. So I hope you enjoy the sounds, and back here is going to be the translation for those that don't speak Spanish can understand some of it. I'm not hungry. Me como el dominio de los gringos mal paridos. Me como su delusion of being a colorful continent. Me como la pobreza de la clase más clasista. Me como su ignorancia y sus ansias de esclavista prestancia. Me como los cuchillos que confabulan tras la cascada. Me como el adjudicado range of colors when brown es la predominancia. I'm not hungry. Me como las minúsculas cajas de discriminación obligada. Me como la connotación negativa de las palabras puta, fácil, maraca, prostituta, perra y sex worker. Me como la glorificación de los campeones en los mismos términos mundanos. Me como los blocky blocks con sus bocas incompletas, ausentes del brillo de la inocencia. Me como las infecciones, las bacterias y las ratas. Me como el patriarcado con todas sus fucking letras ingratas. I am not hungry. Me como la paranoia de caminar en las sombras. Me como las agallas de las madres que no pueden ver mañana. Me como las violencias que desangran úteros a más siniestras que diestras. Me como los maniquís blancos con sus caretas falsas de sororidades ambiguas. Me como a los pedófilos y su inquebrantable círculo de amigos. Ve como el miedo tejiendo mis piernas en los ecos del cuerpo dormido. I'm not hungry. Me como la insuficiencia, la insuficiencia, la insuficiencia, hasta que me llena, hasta que me completa. Ay, ¿dónde andarás, Gabrielita hermosa, con tus ochenteros lentes color de rosa? Me como la represión, mientras por dentro me come la depresión, la obsesión de la larga noche oscura en el corazón. And I'm really sorry if I offended someone, but I'm just really not hungry.
Wow. Hey. How are you guys finding it? Everyone enjoying it? Woo! That's good. Yeah, this Grace and a whole bunch of people that are here, Pilar and other women, they do this amazing show at 855, which is 3CR, 6 p.m., 6:30. 6:30 every Wednesday, and it's amazing. I've been there. Jessica Ibacache been there. I think Ruby been there, maybe. Anyway, it's awesome. Yeah, and it's in Spanish and English, and it's fantastic. Listen up. These guys are going places. So I moved to Australia in 2003, and it's this is well documented now because I'm part of this project called Growing Up African in Australia, which is a book launched this April by Black Ink. But they were like, why African? It's a Latin American event. Yes, it is. But, we didn't want it to get brought to South America or to the Americas, and we were enslaved starting from the 1500s, and we see ourselves as part of the African diaspora, and that's why I'm part of the book. And I'll read a piece of my book, and my story. It's basically I talk about 5 cities that I've been on the way to Australia. So it's Salvador, like Vanessa Giron, different but same saying, and then Rio de Janeiro, where I spent most of my teenagerhood, and then Paris, Perth, and Melbourne. And the piece I'm gonna read, it's called Perth. Okay. If I can open it. Great. I can't find it. It just got closed. Okay. Whilst I open it, I will tell another story. So in 2005, I was sorry, I'm opening. Where is it? Found it. It's here. But I'll tell this story. So in 2005, I was hanging around the city, like it's so different. For the old people, anyone above 35, they will sort of understand, but anyone below is like, it's different world. You might as well be a different dimension. There was no mobile phone. So basically, if you want to find a place, you had to remember the mailways on your head, and you had to go and ask people places, right? Yeah, it's true story. It was crazy. So the people told me that there's this place. You have to go to this place in Caledonian Lane, and it's awesome, and it's like so crazy. It was a place called St. Jerome's. It's the Lanaway Festival. Before it was a Lanaway Festival, it was a bar. Anyway, after hours of searching, more like a few minutes, but like after a long time, I found it, and I went to the place, and then I got in and serendipity struck. As I walked in, the DJ was playing this ballet funk track. And I was like, like this really big drums. If you don't know ballet funk, it's like, imagine the most danceable song there is ballet funk. It's like there's nothing. Reggaeton is like ballet funk is crazy. So the guy's playing ballet funk, I'm like, yeah, going crazy. And I went to him, I was like, yeah, man, like this is awesome. I have like 500 CDs of those. And he's like, okay, I give you $50 if you come next week and play for an hour. It's like, I'm in. I didn't have the CDs. Anyway, that was me like going crazy, like downloading stuff and then borrowing from, I don't even know what. I just came up with something. I showed up next week, and then, I became one of the DJs foundations of the Yo Collective, which, back in the day we played everywhere, and we even played a loop at times, and we were there playing for the first Lane Away Festival. We were one of the opening acts, which was amazing, and yeah, that's the story. There's more, but this is the PG part of it. Okay, Perth. After about 8 hours in Paris, I boarded a plane to Australia. The flight path took me to Perth. My partner wasn't arriving in Melbourne for another 4 days. I didn't want to get there before her, so I planned a 4-day stopover in Perth. When I landed, I was expecting anything but help, given my experiences at the Lisbon airport. The immigration officer in Australia asked me where I was coming here. And I said, I'm going to Melbourne. How long you been staying? I said, probably indefinitely. Then she looked at me, this white lady. She said, welcome to Australia. It's the simple things, I thought. I arrived in a good place. Perth was very underdeveloped at the time, at least in my view. I think I remember this red dirt everywhere. But then memory is so strange and unreliable. I was going to stay at a backpacker hostel, and I overheard these two English guys talking. They were going to the same place. I pushed myself into the conversation and say, let's go together. They didn't want to. They told me my bags wouldn't fit in the car, but I was really insistent. I said I could hold my bags in my lap. That was very Brazilian of me. I don't think I would do that today. I was interested in being their friends, but they were not interested in me. We shared a ride, we shook hands, and we went our separate ways. I put my bag in my room, changed into shorts. It was February, summer in Perth. Incredibly blue skies. This dry heat I never felt before. There were flies. It was all very new to me. There was no smartphones then, so there was nothing to do but explore on foot. I walked around for a few hours. I was literally scanning the streets for Black people. I never felt like such a minority before, not in this scale, not even in Paris. Then I finally saw another Black guy. He wasn't even close. He was about 200 meters away in the distance. But I ran to him and introduced myself. He said he was a Kenyan, an engineering student. I convinced him to go to the pub. I don't know how, but I convinced him. It was a Wednesday. The first pub we saw was an Irish pub. And he said, we can't go in there. And I said, mate, this is 2003. We can go anywhere. He didn't believe it, but he relented and accepted. Okay, if you go first, I'll go right behind you. I went up to a ginger-haired, blue-eyed black man and said, "Can I have a couple of pints of beer, please?" He responded, "Coming right up." Everyone in the room was white and everyone was looking at us. But I just said to my Kenyan friend, "Come on, just talk to me." We stayed there and talked for a long time. As we left, he shook my hand and said, "I'm very thankful for what you did to me." I said, "I didn't do it for you. I did it for us." Thank you. Yeah, this is half of the story. The story is a bit longer, but if you wanna, please purchase the book. We need to sell copies. It's not expensive. I think for $22 in our places. But more importantly, tonight is to buy the zine. Jessica Ibacache is looking at me like, "No, buy the zine. Forget about my book. The zine. The zine." Okay. So, in saying that, I think it's now time to introduce the other Brazilian of the Latinx group, the other token one. Her name is Ana Maria. But before, let me read her bio. Hold on. It's extensive. Okay, so Ana Maria is an author. Not Anna. Ana Maria. Ana. And she been part of, she helped with the Wheeler Center. I think she'll be in a panel, and also with the Express Media. She's being a feature writer for the GJ Press, Junkie Media, Folk Magazine, the Lift Brow, and also the Australian Multilingual Writing Project, which is one of the most beautiful stories I ever read in 2 languages, in Portuguese and English. Thank you for ever writing that. That was good. With you guys, Ana Maria.
I gotta share because I'm a huge deal. I'm going to look at the screen like the whole time because I'm really anxious, and I've like written my jokes down as well, which is really, corny and I don't know, dorky, but bear with me. Before I begin, I'd like to clarify that when I write from Nam or the Oranga, I do so as a settler. My own Blackness and indigeneity doesn't change this fact. Writing about my family's racialized experiences doesn't make me less of a beneficiary of Indigenous dispossession in this place. Sovereignty was never ceded. So I'd like to pay my own respects to the elders of the Wurundjeri and Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and to any other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us tonight. This story is about my mind, vibrators, and dildos. Yeah, you heard it right. I know the words mother and sex toys seldom share sentences, sometimes for pretty valid reasons. So if you don't feel like for listening to this right now, and that's totally chill, very relatable, and I respect you, please feel free to leave the room or to just simply let your mind wander. So this story is called O Amigo, or the friend. Okay, Fuego, fire. Excitement quickly turns into anxiety. Is this better?
Perfect.
Further away? Yeah? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Start again.
Okay. Fuego, fire. Excitement quickly turns to anxiety. I consult the countless to write lists on my phone, computer, iPad, notebooks, but right now they're undecipherable word chunks that read like bad poetry by sad white dudes. I'm desperately, so naturally I call my mind for help. A classic Latinx move, very on theme. She answers the video call, but is nowhere to be seen. I find myself talking to a ceiling fan. This is often the case. Mamãe, are you there? Silence. Benedita, mãe, nothing. Suddenly her head pops into the frame. Ana Maria! She almost always sounds like she's yelling, which alarms the shit out of white people. But it's just how she speaks. Ana Maria! Oi, filha! I have to leave in 15 minutes. And she walks away, shouting news at me from somewhere in the house. 10 minutes later, she finally aims her phone at herself, kind of far left, low angle. I can see her from the nose up, which is close enough. Mamãe, what do you think of when I say fogo? Fogo? Yeah, I have to write a thing about it. Ah, sei lá, filha, fogo. Do you mean sex? I don't know, do you? She shakes her head, chuckling. Mamãe's laughter is phenomenal. It's loud and outrageous and punctuated by funny, weird sounds when she's trying to catch her breath. Sometimes she laughs so hard that spit and snot will just come flying out of her face. If she's losing it for real, tears will run down her cheeks and her body will rock back and forth as if she's in pain. Mamãe loves to laugh and does so unashamedly. The light she carries with her is so bright and so warm that I forget it isn't actually a tangible thing. And yet others tend to comment on it. It makes her seem larger than she is. She is in fact tiny. Ai, Ana Maria, só você mesmo. Only you. Well, that's fogo na bunda. For you can't stop moving, you know. You say, oi, hey, fulano, tá com fogo na bunda? Do you have fire on your ass? Of course I know. I'm your filha and you always tá com fogo na bunda, né? Yeah, she agrees. Well, when you say fire, I think of sex, of course. When you're subindo as paredes, climbing the walls with desire, you know? Because it's so hot, it's like you're burning up. And she makes silly sounds and does this little dance with her head and shoulders, the cheekiest look on her face. Ana Maria! She changes her tone so abruptly that I jump up a little. Are you going to write about me and sex again? She covers her face with her hand and sighs, but soon begins chuckling. Hi, filha, you and your spicy stories. Later that day, something finally clicks. I send Mamãe a message. Is it okay if I write about the time you met my amigo? She replies almost immediately. Haha, yes, filha, of course. But over the next few weeks, I receive her requests, suggestions, and demands. Ana Maria, how's the amigo story going? I want to see it. Filha, I was just thinking, don't talk too much about my sex life, eh? The familia in Adelaide always reads your things, you know. Filha, you have to explain that the doctor told me to get one. And once, after checking her surroundings as if to make sure no one could hear even though I'm pretty sure she was alone, she whispers into the phone, I have so many really very, very spicy stories for you. I feel weird telling you still, you know, you're my filha. Maybe some other time. For now, you just have to use your imagination. It's 2 p.m. and I'm still in bed. Mamãe, who got in on the red eye from Berlin this morning, won't stop moving. Tá com fogo na bunda, mãe? I croaked from under the covers. Ai, filha, not really. My head is still hurting. Just take some painkillers already. I'm going to have a coffee. But get up, won't your friend speak using? I start making my way towards the bathroom, begrudgingly. But where's the Nurofen, just in case? It's on that bedside drawer. I begin. Wait, I stop at the door. This one here. I point at the small table to the right of my bed. Not that one. You don't want to go in there. That's where my amigo lives? Mamãe seems puzzled for a second, and her eyes grow wide, and she bursts into laughter. Ana Maria, why would you tell me this? Well, I figured you wouldn't want to see it. Ai, filha, she chuckles. When I come back from the shower, I find her sitting on my bed putting on earrings, because no self-respecting Latina is ever seen without hair. Oh, tá lindona, eh? I compliment her. Can you turn around though? I gotta put a tampon on. Okay, so some of you might find me putting on a tampon in front of my mind weird, but listen, mornings at our place in Brazil was one person showering, another one shitting, and someone else brushing their teeth all at the same time. Some of you didn't spend most of your childhood with a family of 4 in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment, and it shows. She sits down on the other side of the bed and says, well, let's make this Amigo then. I hear the bedside drawer open and nearly miss the spot with a tampon. Maya, what are you doing? Yeah, I wanted to see what it looks like. I'm about to tell her off, but boundaries, it's a white people thing. Mama is twins. What's that bit there? Is it for your anus? What? No, it's for your clitoris. I wrap myself in my robe. Oh, but how? Hang on. I walk over to her and pick up the vibrator. It's pretty non-threatening, simple, relatively small, black silicone. Okay, so this larger part, I gesture to it, trying to channel the educational yet kind energy of the shop assistant who sold it to me. You put it inside the vagina. I know it's not very big, but see how it curves in here? That stimulates your G-spot. Mama is sitting very still and quietly. She's paying attention, a rare sight. I realized that this might just be the most bizarre show and tell ever. Yet the curiosity on her face is so pure that the situation doesn't feel weird or awkward. So when you have the larger bit inside, the smaller bit here is supposed to press against the front of your clitoris. But because everyone's different, this part is flexible. See, you can move it around like this just to make sure. She nods, fascinated. It seems like a good one, eh? And then there are the different settings. So if you turn it on, I press on the red button on the toy. Woo! My mind jumps back in surprise and lets out the most girlish giggle I've ever heard come out of a grown woman. She waves her hand in front of her face as if to say, okay, enough. I drop the toy back in the drawer, close it, and begin getting dressed. It clicks open again. My mind considers the toy for a moment, then laughs. It's a deliciously loud one, and a little bit sassy, too. Maybe I should get one, Amigo. You should. I mean, John travels a lot for work, and Ana Maria. Well, it's true. Just because you're older doesn't mean you shouldn't. I mean, I can send you some websites, and, we have to make sure that you get one that's body safe. That's very important. Ana Maria, don't you buy me one. Why? I'm not going to, but I can. Ai, filha, só você mesmo. Only you. She walks away, still giggling. Mama, Pansy, Mouse, and I are sitting in my small concrete backyard. The late afternoon air is chilly, but they brought their dog, and we want to keep her company. Not unlike me, Twig is a beautiful, gentle, and extremely anxious creature. Mama has been on a mission to keep her warm for the last half hour. The image is adorable. My tiny mind trying to swaddle a full-grown greyhound with picnic blankets. This is Pansy and Mouse's first time meeting her in person, and I can tell they're entranced by her light already. While Mama attempts to make Twig cozy, us three carry on talking until she yells out in Portuguese, Ana Maria, why are you telling them this? Pansy and Mouse are startled, and before I can clock that what she thinks I'm talking about, she starts telling my friends all about my Amigo. They're surprised at first, maybe a little shocked, but somehow the conversation flows naturally from there. We talk about sex toys, the importance of masturbation, its numerous benefits, the patriarchal suppression of women's sexuality. Mama tells us about how her gynecologist recommended she get a dildo once after she had her hysterectomy, which apparently horrified her at the time. But she explains the doctor had likened it to physiotherapy. If she didn't stimulate her vaginal muscles regularly, it would be incredibly painful to have penetrative intercourse when and if she chose to. She might even need additional surgery. This was 20 years ago now, and so I bought one to just before we moved. Then I had to go see a gynecologist in Juiz de Fora because something was wrong. I was so embarrassed to say that I had been using it. But she said lots of single women do, and they're always embarrassed about it. Anyway, Mama starts cracking up. She tries to keep talking, but it's already reached the funny, weird sound-making stage. Turns out I was allergic to the thing. I take a deep breath. So I had to buy condoms for it. Can you believe it? Oh no! Pansy and Mouse joining the laughter. I suspect more so because of its contagious quality rather than the actual story itself. I think we all feel a pang of sadness at the injustice of the stigma behind masturbation for anyone who isn't a white cis man. Mama grew up brown and poor and so Christian that she ended up marrying a preacher. Sexual liberation was never a part of her life. But she's the best person I know, and I reckon she deserves an orgasm here and there. Although, I remind myself, she did say she has so many really very, very spicy stories. Later, as I walked into their car, Pansy turns to me and says, I'm glad I finally got to meet your mom. I love her. Also, this explains a lot. What do you mean, I asked. About why you're you. Best compliment ever. I'm staring up at my ceiling again. Ana Maria, she yells. Have you finished the story about your amigo yet? Her head pops into the screen. You know, I've been thinking, maybe I should get one. You should. I'm not too old, she asks. Ma, you're not dead. Maybe I will then. You know, I've been looking online for some new amigos, I say. I'll let you know if I find a good website, okay? Pause. Ai, minha filha, só você mesmo. Only you. And she walks away from the screen. We also Guido. Yeah, I could do that. We also got some flowers to thank Ruby and Jess for bringing us all together. It was a very lonely experience. I remember meeting Guido last year, and he was so excited because he was like, I don't know, many Brazilian bookworms, but it's really exciting to meet you. Well, Brazilian bookworms, I don't know. We've made friends since then with others. We've found each other. But it's really special to be part of Yo Soy and also to be part of Chicle. Everyone should grab a coffee. And yeah, thanks for bringing us together. That's it.
Is this why you asked if I was a plant bitch?
Yeah, I was trying to get a plant, but you're not to do it.
Wow. That's it.
You know, the stage is it's addictive. You know, and it's probably rejuvenating too. Like, I mean, you see, the Rolling Stones is still doing. They love that. They're not leaving. They still singing. I can get satisfaction. Yeah, no, I love it. We're about to conclude this amazing event. It's I think every time someone it's on the stage, I think it's important to be thankful. I think nobody, the politics that we're fighting against usually, and the culture that we fight against is that people are so selfish and self-centered, and they forget that we cannot make it without ourselves or without other people, and I'm here, because Jessica and Ruby and everyone chose to select me, to support me, and in exchange I'm supporting them. But I think it's really important to be thankful. In the Emerging Writers Festival, there's real people behind all of these. There's a lot of working hours that people put to get the zine out, and there's a lot of investment. And yeah, I'm very thankful for Jessica Ibacache and Ruby Rose for selecting me to be the host of this evening. This is my first hosting. I like it. And before we go, I really would like everyone back on the stage because the stage is cool. Come back. So Ana Maria, Giron, Ibacache, Ruby Rose,
Oh, wait.
Grace Amigo, and Asiel. What is this? Asiel here. Yes. So if you could give us some claps to everyone. It's amazing. It's good. Yeah, muchas gracias. Thank you so much for coming. Enjoy the party. Please buy the gin. Box at the back with Sara Menezes. She speaks Portuguese, but she was born here. Yeah, and drink some more. And there's another event after, starting at 9, so you can stay. I think you can stay. Can they stay? I think. Okay, good. Everyone can stay. Aisha's going to talk. Aisha's running the show. Thank you so much. I don't want to go. I can't. No, it's off. Thank you so much. Thanks all my friends that came, everyone that came, and thank you. Buy the magazine. Thank you. Obrigado.
We're gonna have to fight. Another huge round of applause for our amazing artists and co-producers on this event tonight. I'm so proud to work with you all and thank you for a beautiful event. I just want to say a couple of things very quickly. Guido is absolutely right. There is another event coming up. It's actually 10 to 9 already, so we'll try to prepare for the second session as quickly as we can. It's called Late Night Lit, Activism Through Creative